Okay, so we'd like to welcome you to Fabric Chicks at noon. We do this every Monday and Friday. On Mondays, we do tips and techniques and that kind of thing. And then on Fridays, we do a big celebration. Hang on a second, because I'm doing this by myself because the kids are at school again. And Roger is in the back room. Okay. So I'm getting your comments up. Hi, Cindy Gygax. How are you? Um, okay, so I am going to, we have a special guest, just so you guys know. So at the end of this, if we have extra time, I'll show you guys the double-sided leaf to go on to the poppies that we've been demonstrating on. But I want to just let you know, hey, Sandy and Kathleen and Peggy and Sherry, how are you guys? So we have hi Laura and Beverly Ann. At the last minute last night when we were on our Zoom yesterday, we had several of you that had gotten the yo-yo necklace pattern, and one of you had questions with the how to make it. So I emailed RoseMary really quick, and she graciously changed her whole schedule around so that she could join us. So she's going to be doing a quick step, like some steps on how to do it. So feel free to ask any questions that you have. And then she's got a lot more tricks up her sleeve. So she's got the Aloha dress she's going to kind of show us how to put together, and a lot of fun stuff. So I'm just going to turn it right over here. I'm going to bring you on, RoseMary. Hi there, RoseMary. How are you?
Hi, great. It's warm where we are.
Oh, here I think it's getting ready to snow again.
Oh my goodness.
Yep. So RoseMary, you're from La Quinta, California.
Yes.
And how long have you been sewing?
Oh, I've been sewing since my mom taught me how to sew. I learned at her knee pretty much, and then she made me take a few things out. So I stopped for a while because I didn't like frog stitching as much. And then the eighth grade graduation came around, and I thought, oh, I want to make a dress for that. So I picked it up again, and I just fell right into it. And I actually won some awards graduating from high school in the fine arts department with the pieces that I had made in my senior year. And I won a making it with wool contest. That was pretty neat. And so my choices to go to college were then the math and sciences at Long Beach or FIDM in Los Angeles. So I ended up going to Los Angeles to study fashion design and merchandising in LA.
Perfect. That's kind of exciting because I was in 4-H and I won the Make It with Wool contest way back when. But I didn't do anything with it except for I did get a modeling scholarship for a short period of time with it. But no college degree or anything exciting like that. Oh my gosh, Sherry says it's pouring down rain in Lakeport, California, and Cindy's at Authorized Back and Sew right now. Which I think, is that close to you?
Not so much close to me, no.
Okay.
It might be Southern California, but we're more in the desert by Palm Springs area.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'm going to give you the whole screen, and so you can just go right into showing us whatever you want to show us first. And then if the gals have questions, I'll just read them to you'll just hear my voice.
Okay, great.
All right.
Sounds great. So when I first started making and designing patterns for independent quilt shops, I was already a pattern maker. Like I said, I went to school in LA. And so then I designed for several shops in LA, and I was an assistant pattern maker for a really big blouse company there, and I worked a few years. And then when I met my husband and married, I came out here to the desert. And so I had to kind of create my own business, if you will. And I was doing a lot of pattern making and designing and custom clothing work, specialty events, weddings, ice skating. I did a lot of ice skating shows and costumed a lot of competitors because we had an ice skating rink in the desert, believe it or not. They're actually going to build a new one out here. But I worked at Monica's Quilt and Bead, which is in Palm Desert, California. And I was staring at the boutique wall one day in August, and I thought I have to make something that's a little cooler to wear. So that's when I designed the Twirly Skirt pattern. And I know that you are all familiar with that. Beth has got a couple samples in the shop if you haven't seen it yet, and it's always fun to try something new. And that comes in also little girl sizes. And then I had built-in little models. So this is my little youngest granddaughter. She was the model for this orange one. And I was just so happy to see how things kind of flow. That was the Aloha Dress. That's the little girl dress. So I'll talk about the Aloha Mama pretty soon. And one thing just leads to another, and then what do you make to go with the other thing? And that's when I designed the yo-yo necklace and honestly, I come from a fashion design background. So there's never any point in that career that I think I would become the yo-yo making queen. And I can make a yo-yo in under 50 seconds. So if you haven't used one of these devices yet, I highly recommend them. It's a yo-yo, the Clover quick yo-yo maker, and they come in lots of different sizes. I'm sure you've seen them on the show that Beth does. That's the large size. This is the small. I know that they go a little odd. There's a little missing one. And this is the extra large one, or jumbo, I think they call it. And so I designed a little necklace to go along with it. That's the yo-yo necklace. And I even have a little variation of that. So if you've made a few yo-yos and you want to put them together, but you're also a beater, you can also just connect them simply by going off center a little bit so they hang a little bit softer. And then you have the little beaded necklace that you attach them to. And that's kind of fun. A little fun button. And then you kind of got it made. Yeah. So if you've made a yo-yo necklace, or yo-yos rather, you know that getting them in perfect circle shape is always the toughest. And this little device has a little clicking sound that happens when you line up these knobs on the end with the smiley faces here, and the needle goes in and out of the open smiley faces. So as you go in and out of them, then you're going, oh, I think I have to put my glasses on so I make sure I go the right way. You go over and out through the openings. There we go. So you're in and out of these openings only. So don't cross over that plastic ridge or the whole thing won't work, right? And you just get a nice long bit. I usually swipe a nice little piece of beeswax over the thread so that it's a little bit stronger. I always use double thread, again, so I can be quick about it and pull hard. And then I use some of the other pieces to have the ends and such to help me sew other buttons or sew one to another. So there we go. It's around. It just pops out like this. And then you take out this little insert. See these teeth? This is what you're sewing around on the inside. And in the yo-yo maker pattern, I just have you pull both threads. That's probably the only difference is what's on the yo-yo package itself, because it's very clear what you need to do. The package directions are wonderful. So trying to hold this up and do this up here in the air. So I would tie these two into a knot. And then once you have those knotted and affixed, then you have a nice little flat yo-yo piece like that. I have one thread in, one thread out. You can see that here. So this one gets just left alone so you can connect it to another. This side you would use to sew on a button or sew on some beads. And then you can decide, how you want to work around. Do you want to have everything clustered close together? I usually make more than I think I'm going to need, because then I have a little bit of design flexibility, something that I can work around. So I can make my little pieces clusters. I can take one out. Where's my necklace going to come? It can connect over here. And so then you have something to play with. When I think I had one of the questions was about the cording. So you're making this cording with a bias piece of fabric, and the bias helps to really stretch well. So that's cut out of your fat quarter if you're using it, or out of your remnant pieces. It comes first so that you know you have a good 10, 12, 14 inches to make. I think my pattern gives an example of measurements, but of course it's better to make more than you think you need so that you can wrap around, and then at the odd end, just take off what you don't. At the other end, you want to put a little fabric there just to cover it, and that'll give you your space for the snap. Now you can either sew a Velcro a little bit on the end of it, or snaps underneath one of the flowers and over one of the pieces. We'll get some pictures to you if you come to that point and you're not sure what to do. I definitely will send you a couple of pictures. So you want to have these straps made, and one of the turners, oops, I think again, you might know this little toy, right? The tube turners. So these are great to turn the tubes, and you can reach in there with a little spaghetti turner. But I also figured out this other way. So if you want to follow along with what I recommend as the designer tip in the pattern, and in the pattern piece itself, it's down here in this little grade box. There's where I have a little bit of a turn it inside out and stick the cord in it, or option 2, use a little bit of this cord to help you maneuver it. So the cord obviously is going to be the size that you want. This is like a 5/16 of an inch is the size, just cottony cable stuff. Or, you could certainly use a round shoelace or other cording that you might find in the interiors department of a store. And what I suggest is to find the middle of the cord, or go longer than your length. There you go. And the length of your strap that you want to sew. Go to that part. Okay. I just say put a little pin in it so you know where to go. Then wrap the fabric around that and sew this opposite way. And when you have that sewn, and be careful to sew close to the edge with your zipper foot, or your needle in the leftmost position as close as you can to the cording, and not catch any of that cording. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take this excess cord that's sticking out, because you haven't cut this cord apart. And I should say, one of the tricks of this is to have more cord than you think you need, because it would be nice to have an extra foot than one, at least, of what you need. And then you start pulling on the cord and running this down and kind of smushing it down a little bit, and pulling the cord and getting this to come all the way through here. There we go. You just kind of maneuver it. If you get your batik, especially, a little too close together, then just keep moving it. Here we go. And it's coming down, and it's coming down. It'll come all the way down. I'm not going to make you suffer through watching me come all the way down, but there you go. That's how it turns inside out and comes all the way. Here it is. It's cutting the turn here. There we go. There we go. Okay, I can show off after all. And so now the cord is turned inside the tube, and at the same time you're turning the tube. Make sense? So now you cut this off. Here's tube number 1. It's finished. So cut this off, and then go to your length of cord, start again, do another one, and repeat that again. Then when you get all those cords, do we have any questions yet?
Not yet. They
Okay.
just said they liked the bead necklace idea, and Diana's actually made the yo-yo necklace, and Mo says it's cute.
Great. So when you get all of the little components together, then take it to a board, like your project boards would be perfect, and pin it on top here. I'm going to drop one thing, drop the other. So you have this here, you'll pin it up on top, and then you just simply keep folding over and over to the center. I don't know if I could braid backwards or not, but we can try. Some of these times, the excess here is a little bit of a help to start. And then after you get going, then the braiding really gets nice. And you have to finish out the tails, though. You have to remove them also. They won't, otherwise they get tangled at the bottom. So there you have your braiding happening. And then once you have your braiding, if you take it to the ironing board and curve it into a nice natural shape, then you have your necklace component so that you have it ready to go when you've designed your yo-yo piece. One of the things about shaping, especially with cotton, once you hit it with the steam or the heat of the iron, step away from it and let it rest for a minute or two so it cools down. And then the memory of the natural fibers will kind of have that memory retention and it will keep it in place. So I think that's as much as I can think of. And now, one thing in looking over the pattern, like I don't know where I put the snap instructions, so I'm going to have to modify that. And of course, at the end of your design pieces, so you have all of these components. Now this goes with something else, of course, but you have all these little design pieces. You kind of move it around and whatever. So save one to put the snap behind it. And use these kind of big, nice size snaps because those are great to help hold it in place. You put one side here and the other side here. And another time when I use a double thread is when I sew the snaps on, so that's nice and firm. It really stays. And just another look at the beaded necklace. One thing I have taken to doing is to put some kind of a little backing on this. If it's a little piece of small fabric that you just, and that's where I use the steam a seam in the pattern, steam and seam a little bit of the fabric and then just lay your whole complete design motif down on the batik, and no, I didn't mean to make that look like Mickey Mouse. There you go. So, design something, trace this on the back side, and then fuse it to the back here if you want to help it hide all of your little stitches. And that'll keep it in shape too. And even these little ones that have a lot of beading or beadwork on them, they should probably have a little bit of a backing to them so that it's a little bit nicer if it flips around. So that would be good. So that's the yo-yo necklace, some little tips on it, just here and there. And if you have any other questions,
if you girls have any questions for her, just type them in and we'll ask her as we go.
right?
Rosie wants to know, do you coordinate your colors of fabric and how many different fabric colors do you use per necklace?
Yes, I do think of it. I love using batiks. And so therein lies the best source for some color inspiration. If you can see 4 colors right away, then I would say, try to go to those. You've got the purples and the limey, the magenta and a little bit of the peach. Take your source from that. Or if you use another fabric that's got a collection, look at the print imprint on the selvage edge that gives you all of that color, the color theory that's in the design itself. That's a wonderful way to start looking for fabrics. And they don't have to always be, shouldn't ever actually be solids. It's always nice to use the tone on tones, the low volumes, the little patterns, smaller prints, bigger prints, just mix them all up. And think of things in odd. So I said pick 4 others to go with this because that would give you a collection of 5. So always think in terms of odd numbers. That helps. And even when you're laying out your little design, if you have an odd number of pieces, that is a little bit more fluid than even. It just seems to work better. Let's see if I can arrange something real quick here.
Well, that's kind of the theory in art, is to have an odd number.
And interior design too, exactly. And then when you connect them, this is why I leave some of the threads. So when you design something, you're going to connect it. See this thread I have here? I would put a needle on that, take it to the edge, and do a really fine little whip stitch. So, the applique artists out there would know exactly what to do. Just take a little tiny stitches all the way around here and then knot it off. So you have, this is already preset for you.
And you would want to kind of do a blind applique stitch as opposed to just tacking it because that way it'll be more secure.
Exactly. And I
Well,
don't know if
Mary Beatty says she's sorry she's late. Her husband's tooth was just pulled, and she's looking for patience. Mary, we
oh,
cannot help you with that.
take a
You're
deep
gonna have to
breath.
just take some deep breaths. Yeah,
Sew a few yo-yos. That'll help.
yeah, yeah. Sew some yo-yos, Mary.
Yeah.
You have some makers. Sew some yo-yos.
So
That will relax you.
here's one of the biggest tips. I see the little knob on the end here and the little lines in the paddle. So those little guys line up. So when you have, so sorry, I don't have my glasses on.
That's okay. I didn't know
Forgot
that
that
those lines
element.
up.
So when you have them lined up correctly, it should click. Did you hear that? Yeah.
I heard
So
it.
then you know you've got it set, you're ready to go, and you're only sewing in and out of these two little spaces here, out one in the other. Go in the back, then you come out the next one, out the next little smiley part, into the next little smiley part. So you're staying within that space right there. So
And do you use a thicker thread, a stronger thread?
you know, I probably sometimes have picked up a cotton 12 weight, and
Mm-hmm.
even use that double. You don't have to. Doubled thread is better. Now, I wouldn't use a 60 weight. I would definitely use the 50 or 40 weight regular sewing threads. And the
Okay.
cotton is fine, like quilting cotton thread. That's fine. But another little bit, you know, line it up on your needle. See, I thought I had a needle threaded. I have lots of needles, but they're not threaded. Thread the needle and sweep it down there, and then that coats the thread with the beeswax, and then put the knot on. And when you cut, this is a good tip. This is from the jewelry making side of me. When you're sewing away and you get it all done, you're ready to cut your thread. Cut twice. That means cut once at the point of origin where you want to finish the tail. Then, if you don't have enough thread to keep sewing, take your little scissors and cut the thread off again here close to the needle so that you just pull the needle off and you don't swipe all the thread with the wax through the needle eye, because then you pretty much have closed the needle eye with your wax.
Okay. And do you just use the wax, or could you use like the Thread Haven?
Thread Heaven, Thread Magic, if you have some
Yeah.
microcrystalline wax, anything to give it a little bit of, it helps the glide, it keeps it stronger.
Okay.
That's fun. So
Perfect.
shall
All
I
right,
go
girls. So
talk about
I expect you guys to I expect you girls that I mean a lot of you have gotten the yo-yo necklace pattern, so I want to start seeing those on the Fabric Chick Stitch Along where you guys post what you're working on. Welcome, Tina. I'm glad you finally caught us live. We have RoseMary Jameson from La Quinta, California with us today. She owns Sewfast Designs. So she's going to be showing us, she just gave us tips and tricks on how to do the yo-yo necklace. And now she's going to be showing us some of her other patterns and some tips on how to put them together.
And we'll do the Aloha Dress. And because I have a little bit, I have the little one that I started with. Here we go. And if you don't know if your little granddaughter, here we go, is that a good picture? I love this. You know, I'd like to make them all with a wedge cut skirts. That's my favorite way, of course, because you can use up fabric and they can be fun. But this was the very first dress that I made. So it was just simply a little fun piece of material. And it was for my granddaughter's 5th birthday. And I did the little ties in the back, and that's what the cuteness of the dress is. And then what the big tip of the dress is the way that I constructed the tie here to hold it so it's all inside. And I'll show you that on one of my other pattern pieces. But just I left this untied so I could share my bow tie technique. If you ever tied a bow and want the cord to go straight, when you first make that tie, you have one going up and one going down. Save the one going up for the second loop. So make the first loop with the bottom set, and then swing this around and pull it tight. And there you go. And the bow tie will be straight across. And that works for anything. Just save the last loop for doing the one on the top, the second one. Yeah. And then I did the Aloha Mama dress, which I have the pattern right here, right here, right here, right here, right here. Right here. And I'll have to jump on with the dress actually. Maybe I'll show this one another time. So this dress pattern has got a cute little sleeve on the end. And again, I did the multiple skirt. And in the pattern, there's two skirts. So there's a full circular skirt, which, and in my opinion, I did the pattern for the full circular skirt in a formula kind of theory. So it's not a full huge page pattern, but it's at the top, which is what you need, and a formula about how to make a circle skirt for whatever waist size you want it to be. So it could be for any waist size. And the wedge skirt has like 3 or 4 different wedges, and I kept cutting the wedges out in this little dress that I'm making, and it got to be a bigger skirt than I imagined right away. So this is my little sample of the skirt I'm going to do with fabric I picked up in Hawaii. So someday I hope to make it back to Hawaii. And I just did a series of little color groupings that really worked with the colors that I saw in the skirt. And I'll do some others from the other side. And as you can guess, I'm going to put the little sleeve on mine, but it's actually sleeveless for the most part. And one of the things I want to point out on this is that when you're doing the back of the bodice, which is what you'll be doing first, can you see the shape of this? There we go. This part at the angle goes towards the neck, and it's listed quite a few times on the pattern. It'll say center back for here. It'll say this is the neck hole, this is the armhole, and it does need to have that little sweep. Sometimes, especially on the little girls' dresses, the neck opening looks like, the back opening looks like a natural armhole, but it's not. It's actually the little keyhole for the back, and the sweep of the body goes towards the center back. So that's just one of those tips to kind of keep in mind when you do it. And I do have my email on all the patterns, so that if you ever have a question about something, you can email me directly, and I do tend to answer fairly soon. The bodice in the back is constructed a little bit differently. You sew the lining to the front at the shoulder seam line, and then you sew this little piece in here that I call the loop facing, and it gets stitched to a certain point, and it's on the pattern. It gets stitched to a certain point, and then it gets clipped, and then this bodice part goes all the way inside that little opening there, and it turns inside out. And then once you turn it inside out, then you can stick right sides together, and you do this and this, and then you turn that all inside out, and it does turn inside out. And there you've done the back bodice. And it's quick. It's important to read the patterns all the way through, but sometimes it only makes sense when you actually sit down with the fabric and cut it and do it. And I know that. So I have on this step, I actually have a couple little videos and some breakout snapshot pictures. So if you're doing this dress and you ever have a question, this dress or the little Aloha dress for the little girls, I have some supporting photos for the steps, so that can help you do the steps correctly. And do you think we have any questions on that?
We do have, so a lot of times we have to repeat ourselves. So I think that you covered this, but how are the dress patterns sized?
Oh, good. So on the little Aloha dress, right now it only goes from size 2 to 8. If you want a 10 to 12, I have a a larger bodice pattern that I can PDF you. So that could be included in the pattern. So that definitely would be, again, a question to Beth. Send her an email and she can direct that on to me, and I can do that. On this Aloha Mama pattern, I have sizes 6 through 1 or 2X. Now I lost my little pattern. So I'm pretty sure it covers a pretty nice range of sizes. And I'm thinking it was 6 to 1X or 2X.
Perfect. And then Diana says she loves the fabric you used on the bodice. And Diana, I want you, because I know that you asked this of a different designer who only had sleeveless. I want you to notice that she's got the sleeves there, so that you have the option to have it sleeveless or to, cover up those arms that tend to
angel
not
wings,
be sexy as they were when we were 18.
Right. We call them our angel wings, right?
Yes, exactly. That's good. That's a good name for him. And then Kathleen says, good tip about cutting twice and not plugging up the eye of the needle.
Great.
And wait here. Oh yeah. Diana says, yes, gotta hide those old lady arms. Well, we all have them now.
That's right.
All right. And what are some of your other patterns?
Well, I don't know. Do you have collectors of salvages out there? I started.
Oh, maybe. I wouldn't promote that personally because that's not getting them to buy more fabric. But I'm sure they all have a stash because we're all hoarders.
Right.
So yes, what can we do with our selvages?
So now I designed this skirt, and it's for you up there. It would be perfect because this is like suggested to put it on a muslin or like a Kona cotton background, and then stitch your salvages down in a distinct pattern that I have laid out in the pattern for you. And you can color code it any way you want, or just take what you get when you pull it out of the pile. I think on this one, I tried to really get all the little makers' names and the little cute bars of colors, because now they're doing it in so many different ways, right?
Yes.
Characters or flowers or hearts or sayings even. Moda's got some with sayings on them. It just really inventive what they're doing with the salvages. So this is a pretty big skirt pattern. The size,
I have to say, I am not one for selvages, but I love that skirt. It is adorable.
Yeah, with boots and a turtleneck. I mean, it's right up your alley, right?
Yes, I love it. Now I'm gonna have to save my selvages. Like I wasn't a hoarder enough.
No, I think somebody has probably a couple bundles you could have.
Oh, I hope so. Okay, girls, does anybody have any selvages I could have? Diane says she loves that. We're gonna have to order the patterns.
Okay, great. And then on the, I think you have had this before, on the twirly skirt, I have it in different sizes. There's a child size. And then if you're extra petite, where the pattern around would be a little bit less than 9 panels, I might suggest this teen petite size that we have. So maybe we should talk about that, Beth. You should have a couple handy just in case you get a couple gals who are little,
yes,
sizes, because the twirly skirt would be better when it has more panels around it. It's a little more of that flip and flare, which helps our figure look better. So that would be a great thing to keep in mind, to have a choice, fabric choices.
And I'm going to say with the twirly skirt, girls, no matter how old you are going to be spinning around, because I know for me, anytime I wear it to a show, ladies are always looking at it, and then I have to spin around for them. It's a pretty fun skirt.
It is fun. And it can be, the seams can be finished with a serger if you have a serger, or you can finish them with an overlock casting stitch on a regular machine, or a plain zigzag. Or if you only have featherweights and just straight stitch, you can just finish it with a little pinked edge, or after a couple watches, just trim off those edges, because batik especially doesn't fray as much as any other cloth does, because it has that tighter weave. I remember making a skirt when I was at the Phoenix show, and I demoed the skirt during day 1, and I invited people to come back on day 2 to see me wear the skirt, because I would put it on. So at night, I finished it in the room. Maybe only took me 20 more minutes to put the hem and the elastic on. And I wore it the next day. And it was not finished inside. It was straight seams, and that was it. And I washed, and I still have that skirt. It must be 7 or 8 years old, easy. Yeah. So it's kind of one of those fun things. And I remember a story where a gal bought the pattern and then moved to Germany, and she kept making the skirt. At one count, she had made over 40 skirts because she kept giving her skirt away to friends or making them as gifts.
Honestly, it looks good on every figure. I mean, I've had people who are really large wear it. It just is very flattering for sure.
It is. Isn't that fun? Yeah. I knew
Yeah,
I had a hit when people kept asking me if I lost 5 pounds. But
right,
I have to do something with this. This is a good
right,
idea.
right.
Oh, so sorry. Excuse me. Um,
Uh,
the another little pattern that we have with batiks that's fun is the Bali Tie Skirt. And I have this on a fabric bodice, if you will, a fabric yoke, if you will, and I'll show you how to make that. But the secondary way of making this pattern is on a pair of jeans, and that's a lot of fun. So that's just one of those. What else can we do to recycle our jeans, right? And ties. Some throwback to the 70s. You can probably guess where I get a lot of my inspiration from. That's yeah, 70s are popular, that's for sure. And here's another pattern I designed. We live in the desert, and so hands on the hot wheel are kind of always going to happen. So this little pattern, the Too Darn Hot pattern, is great. It's made with batik usually, or any other fabric really, quilted, lined, and then it's also interlined with Insulbright. So it's your thermoflam Insulbright, that heat resistant thing that you would, it's the batting that you would put in hot mitts or hot pads, something like that you were making. And it's a great way to maybe practice a little quilting design, or like this one was one of those giveaway patterns when we do a quilt run. So that was the little pattern, and then add a little border. You could take a favorite block or a few blocks that you've made for a class and they don't know quite what to do with it, and then add enough on the outside edges. This pattern, we have a couple, I think I have 4 designs in here that are different blocks, but the inner part is sized for an 8-inch block or a 10.5-inch block, or just do an all over and do embroidery. I know a lot of gals have done their embroidery machine and then just done something across for their embroidery work. And then it's a regular binding on the edge here. So it makes for a good practice of a binding if you want to. And I think I have 3 or 4 different sizes in here. Thinking the golf cart or small carts have a smaller wheel, and then guys with the big rigs have a bigger wheel, and yeah, so it goes a couple different sizes. And then one of the other things I've done lately is this project bag. There we go. And on the project bag, do you work a lot with vinyl in your shop? Do you have vinyl? So it's just a simple little bag, that you can use any style or type zipper that you want. I like the big tooth zippers because you can open it up wider and get more things inside. Again, a fun way to practice some of your quilting designs. Working with the vinyl is nice. I do also add a little tidbit on how to cover your cord board to make it into a little project board. But I like to do something on the flip side that's useful too. So since I do a lot of beading, then I have the little beading vellum fabric that goes on the back here. So it can be a beading board. Or if you do cross stitch, this flannelly kind of bit that holds your threads handy and they don't fall off. And that'll fit into your board. This again is another study in how to attach the zipper. And I don't know if you have Trace Atkins patterns, Atkinson, I think that's her name. So she had one idea here with the fabric on the end. This one I just put underneath the fabric strap, but this one I used it to finish the zipper and make it be the size I wanted it to be. So that's one of the things about the plastic tooth zippers, is that you can size them to be what you want. Or if you buy one zipper with two heads, you can end up with two zippers, or you can end up with a zipper pouch that opens from both ends too. That would be kind of nice. Again, it's another nice little practice on how to do a binding. And I have a whole page on the binding in that, which I think is pretty neat binding technique. I know there's so many out there, but it makes it a lot of fun to have a few different things, a few different skills under your belt. And I guess binding is a little bit more like garment construction, but I know a lot of quilters don't like to do the binding. And when I get to the binding part, I think it's kind of fun because it's like almost done. And I have a little bit of a rhythmic way of doing the binding and connecting it, and it works out really well now. I must say that for my newest little machine, I just got my Jazz 2 about a year ago, and the best thing I added to it was a walking foot. So not only do I get to have a nice steady control because of the Jazz itself, but because the walking foot helps that top layer move, no matter how thick my batting was that I used in my lining in my bag, it helps the binding and the fabric move at the same speed. And that could be one reason why people don't like to do the binding so well, because that top layer doesn't, the fabric doesn't move at the same rate that the bottom layer does. And add on a walking foot, or drop down your walking foot if you have one of those Baby Lock or FAF or some of those with the dual feed part to it. Investigate using that because it would really help.
You know what, RoseMary? I'm really not sure that that's going to help these girls, because even quilters always complain about the binding. But I'm with you. It's like the very last, you're like the final mile. You're so close to having it done.
Right.
And it's kind of therapeutic and relaxing.
It is. I realized that at some point when I was designing things and making, I knew that I would have to give it up. I would have to say goodbye at some point. And I came to the realization that sometimes that's why I took myself to the almost deadline, because I really didn't want to let go of it. And it now has become that way for the quilts that I make. I have to get them done quickly, but the binding is my time to really enjoy what I've accomplished and basically say goodbye if I'm giving it away, which is usually
right.
For selling it. I have a huge commission now that I've done that's taken almost 3 years to do. These guys collected their fabrics from all over the world, and they traveled extensively, been doing this for 30 years themselves. And the fabrics they gave me were wild. And I know some other quilters that know what I mean by wild fabric. They have, some might have worked on t-shirt fabric or tie fabric, which is slippery silk, and you have to do some things to the fabric to make it stable. But I had a range from leather to silky mom's beautiful blouse they wanted to incorporate. So it was a huge range of fabrics, and it was all crazy quilted, and that's what they wanted, and that was great. But it has been at the quilters for 3 months. And first of all, my one quilter turned me down because she said it was way too heavy for her to work on. And a second quilter took it on, and she had it for a while, and we talked about it, and she ended up calling it the monster.
Oh no.
Make sure you take a picture of the monster before you give it to the guys. So I'm at the point where I'm going to trim it and bind it, and I'm really looking forward to that now, because it'll be my sending off time. I can enjoy 108 inches by 114 inches of lots of time to say goodbye.
Yeah, that's a big quilt. That's a big quilt.
Yeah. And
Gosh, I don't know. You couldn't even pay me thousands of dollars to do a quilt that size.
Yeah, I'm hoping they pay me that much.
Yes. Oh well, good luck.
Yeah, good luck. Right.
Yeah. Okay, I have a few questions.
Okay.
How wide should the selvage be cut? Do you just cut however wide? It is?
A little bit more, at least a half an inch, at the very least a half an inch extra on the catching the color.
Oh,
If you like it a lot and want to see more of the pattern, cut it within the inch. But then you're taking away your usable width of your fabric, so calculations might need to be readjusted if that's the issue. But you want to see the color and the pattern of the fabric at least. So at the very least, a half an inch extra. I usually do 3/4 of an inch.
okay. That's easy. 3/4 of an inch is manageable.
Yeah.
And then Kathleen says she does not save her salvages. She's already bursting at the seams with her storage. Kathleen, I agree with you, but that skirt was super cute.
And
Um,
what you can make, there's books on it and patterns on it. You can make little coin purses, you can
I
make
know,
book covers, you can make.
but I'm in the business of selling more fabric, so I have never been a fan of the selvage. But I love that skirt. That skirt looks like it. You would like go to some fancy store and
Yeah.
buy it.
Yeah, you have to have one for one of your shows.
Yeah, for sure.
Not one soon, but maybe by the dead of winter.
Yes, yes, it would look super cute with a pair of boots.
Yeah, it would be. And boots are
Uh,
so popular now. I
okay, and then Tina, wait
I
one
oh,
second, real quick.
okay.
Tina said she lost connection when you were talking about the little girl dress size. Did she hear the size is 2 to 8?
Yes, and I have an add-on for 10 to 12, just in case. So yes, so this one 2 to 8 inside here, and it's a little bit of a generous pattern because I made it in the summertime, and I really made it to be like a cover up, a swimsuit cover up. So, and I say that on the pattern, so it's a little bit on the generous side.
Yes, yeah, perfect. And then Mary says, Beth, friend, giving them away when you were talking about giving away the twirly skirts. Mary actually borrowed one of my twirly skirts for a wedding, but I made her return it.
How cute!
And she says she needs the cactus pattern in her basket. Okay, girls, I'm writing this all down. Hold bag pattern. Oh, hold bag pattern up higher, please. And
The
then
bag. Okay.
and then what kind of clear vinyl do you use?
Oh yeah, you want to get. Oh, I wish the number escapes me now. But it's a fairly. It's pliable, but it's not too thin. It's not too thick. I'm sorry, I don't remember the gauges of it. So it's probably something that you're going to find in one of the shops that make bags and things. I'll get that to Beth.
Okay. And then Tina.
Not too flimsy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have another tip about sewing with the vinyl. I forgot to share this. The vinyl comes with a piece of tissue, and keep the tissue with the vinyl as you're sewing it, because if you lay the tissue down on your vinyl side, then your foot will glide over the material and the vinyl easily. If you have a roller style foot, that will roll over it. But if you don't, I don't know if the walking foot works as well. I'll have to test that. But the tissue paper is just a super helpful little tool to have along with you anytime you're going to sew through the vinyl. And then you just treat it like, the perforating triangle papers and things like that. Snap it apart and pull all of the extra paper off as you've sewn the seam. So that helps because that vinyl sticks underneath the foot. It's just like, can't go anywhere. So you want to use something to help you with that.
Perfect. And then Diane, let's see. Diana says she loves her faff for the dual feed foot. Sandy says she always uses a walking foot to sew on the binding. Rosemary, you have a lovely smile, and that's coming from Mary, so that's very, very true.
Thank
she
you.
wouldn't say it unless it was a true statement.
Thank you.
Binding is not my favorite, but I have started to use my walking foot to sew on the binding. And then, oh, poor Rosie. She gave her daughter the piggy wall hanging with two sides of the binding not finished. And her daughter said, don't worry about it. She'll glue it. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. And Mary says she saves her selvages. If she can find it, I can have it. Well, that's a definite might happen. Okay, Tina. Just make sure that we have, I'm not sure if we still have your current mailing address. So just let us know after the show and we'll get you the pattern. And Mary says, hold the bag even higher.
I picked out too big a one to there we
So
go.
does the pattern come with different sizes?
Oh yes, I have a whole list. Yeah, I have a whole for all those different sizes, and I have you know, pictures that correspond with what I'm saying. And you can
Perfect.
maybe you can do a bag that's to have a finished bag. Finished size of bag: 13 by 12, 11 by 16, 17 by 18. But once you make one, you can tell, oh, if I do this and use this size zipper and make my zipper this big and then add the vinyl, I have a bag that's 10 by 10 or
Right.
8 or whatever it is. So yeah, very easy to recalculate.
Well, and we could maybe coerce you into doing a Zoom class on the bag, because a lot of people are intimidated by the vinyl and the zippers and all that good stuff.
Oh, that'd be great fun.
Okay, I'm writing notes. All right. All right. What else do you have to show us?
I think that pretty much wraps it up. I have one major quilt that I designed a few years ago for something Mardi Gras, and I guess I have to precede it with the fact that I designed a gown for a gal for Mardi Gras, a huge Mardi Gras party out here given by one of the big benefactors, and that was just a full-blown thing. So I made this gal Marie Antoinette. Just beautiful fabrics and an amazing design, and the underpinnings, which are called like the petticoats. And for that period, it was a panier, which was like an oblong skirt hoop thing. It wasn't a circle, it was oblong. And I did the whole 9 yards, decorated her shoes and everything. And I just couldn't let go of the Mardi Gras theme. So I designed a pattern. I must have done something with Monica's real quick to do something. So I designed a pattern around the dress that I have, and I have the pattern back. How far back?
Oh, that is fabulous. I love it.
So I have masks of different types, right? All the
Yeah,
different
that
types
is adorable.
So just thinking about Mardi Gras and that time, I think now it's just probably going to become my my quilt for the little grandbaby who comes when she comes to visit, right?
Oh, perfect.
But that's some of the fabric that I used in the lady's gown. So I don't think I can wash it real well. You know, some of those things can't be done anymore, right?
Right. Okay, wait, hang on a sec. Kathleen, you want the steering wheel? Which Aloha dresses do you want? Do you want so there's an American Girl doll size one, if you've still got American Girl doll kids.
Mm-hmm.
There's the girl dress size, and then there's the adult dress size. So Kathleen, just let me know which ones you want. And then they won't go out with this week's because some of those I still have to order more.
Okay. And then this is the Too Darn Hot pattern is what I call the steering wheel cover, which I imagine it would be just as good in the cold weather because it would keep your wheel from being too extremely cold or hot one way or the other.
And that's true. It does get cold. And it never really bugged me until I was driving my son's car, who has a heated steering wheel. And then I realized that there's a difference.
Yeah.
And why does he have a nicer car than I have?
Yeah, that's a good. Well, you raised him well. That's a good point.
I guess. Okay. All right, girls. Do you have other questions for RoseMary? Oh, they're just like now they're just typing in what their orders.
Good. Okay. Got you.
So they're used to on Friday we do a big sale where I hold up like 250 items.
I
or
know.
150 items.
I love
it takes
that
like
shit.
2.5 hours to get through it. So now they're like numbering and naming their own projects. I'm like, are you guys kidding me here?
That's great.
Mary, do not start trim. Okay, let's see. I'm trying to write it down faster than I can. They're coming in faster than I can write down. I'm gonna have to go back and steering wheel. Okay. Cindy, she does have a website. What's your website, Rosemary?
Sewfastdesign.com.
Okay, did you
I
guys
don't
hear
know
that?
if everything is on there, but that's
Like all of us, we don't. Our websites are just as good as we are
yes.
technically, and we're not technical
Right.
people.
Right.
Okay, I think I've got. Oh, Sue, steering wheel. Okay, girls. And then we'll order enough that we'll put them on the on a Friday sale when they all get here.
Oh.
And then we will talk to Rosemary about doing a class. Okay, do you girls have any other questions for Rosemary? All right, I think they've got them typed in. Beth, are you whining? I would never whine, Mary. I'm saying that that's good. You're taking my job and doing it for me, and you know me, I am a slacker. So anytime you guys want to do it for me, I'm perfectly good with that. Okay, I think that's it. All right, but we do have a few giveaways. So I do have, for those of you who want to do the yo-yo necklace, I've got 3 little bundles of
Those are pretty.
of batiks. Okay, so I'm just gonna scroll through and hope that you guys got the pattern already. If not, let me know if you need it. Okay, I've got Rosie. And let's see, who's next? Diana Hensley. Oh, Diana's already made it. Well, now you'll have to make one for your daughter. And let's see. Sherry Saul. And then, okay, wait, I have one extra gift. Here is a little notepad. Phyllis Ingmeyer. All right. Sometimes I do giveaways on Mondays and sometimes I don't. That way they can never know if they should keep watching or not.
That's right.
Okay, let's see. We got some new comments. Oh, Diane wants the steering wheel cover too. Okay, girls, I'll get that. All right. Well, thank you so much, Rosemary, for joining us today, especially last minute. That was so nice of you to do that.
Oh, you're quite welcome. It's always fun to visit with you. Tell your girls to have a lot of fun sewing.
All right. Thank you. And girls, we've gone over our time because I'm here by myself. So I will demo how to do the double-sided leaf later on. All right, girls, have a great Monday. Get out there and start sewing and get something done so that we can work on our selvages. All right, take care. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.